Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Sarah Liz and today we are stepping up the caffeinated Sentiments emergency card kit. It's kit 15. This came out last week. It has 2 pages of circle sentiments and then 2 pages of strip sentiments using 4 different fonts, and this download is completely free. I also included a card sketch that is a box card, and we actually made the box card in the original video. It was sort of stepped up to begin with, but now we're going to step it up even more. Here's my card base. It is 10.5 by 4.25, and we're scoring it 1.5, 2.5, 4, and 5. Those measurements are in the download, okay? Then on the end where we just did the scoring, I'm going to trim off this tiny little sliver. The whole thing will go together a little more easily if we do that. Then I will fold along the score lines. They are all mountain folds, and so it just kind of rolls up and it forms this little box. So I'm going to add glue onto my flap. It's the 1.5 inch flap and only up to that first score line. Then I will fold on the second score line and press it flat. And then that flap butts up against the last score line, and I will fold on that last score line and press the card back into the glue. And now I have my pop-up card. I have my little box on the front and my card base in the back. To decorate the background, I am using this mini Slimline die. It's called the Geometric Cutout Panel. It's from Trinity Stamps. And I wanted to stretch this die. I love the pattern of it. I don't use it often enough because I don't make a ton of mini Slimline cards. So I thought maybe if I stuck it kind of diagonally on that back panel, it'd be a fun way to dress up my box card and to get a different look out of it. There are measurements on the printable for how to create a matte layer and then a pattern paper layer on there. And this is just another variation. This is a new die set from Trinity. It is the Insider Sentiments coordinating die set. So it's not really meant to do this. This happens to fit beautifully on the front, and it does this incredible embossing detail into the cardstock. So I added that to the front panel instead of cutting the piece that is on the card sketch. And then I'm just grabbing a whole bunch of strips. I just have a ton of them sitting in a box. You've seen the box. It's huge. It's kind of full right now. And so some of them were cut using my Slimline strip dies, but some of them, like this little thin sort of teal piece, I just cut by hand. Those are just little slivers that I trimmed off using my paper trimmer. You do not need dies for this. And I thought it would be fun to run that right through the middle of sort of the side piece of that die cut. And then I'll just use my scissors to trim off around the edges. I'm using a bunch of products from Trinity in these cards. I'm guest designing for them this month and they sent me a bunch of stuff for free. But this is a method. You do not need these products to do these things. I also bought a handful of these products as well. So like that geometric panel in the back, I bought that. When I get things that I love, I want to use them as much as I possibly can. But please, please know, you can do this with whatever you have. If you are interested in what I'm using, I'll link everything below, but it's not necessary. To create that front panel for our card, I have a piece that measures 5.25 by 3 inches. Okay, and I'm going to bring out my scoreboard and we're going to score this at 1/4 inch. And then again at 1.25 inches. So I have just 2 score lines on one end. And then I will fold both of those as mountain folds as well. So far, a lot of this is like what we did in video 1. I'm adding glue just to the bottom where it's going to overlap the large box. And I'm going to center that and I'm going to make sure it's not going below that box or things are going to get weird. I'm adding glue to my little short flap. Okay, there it is on the short flap. And I'm going to fold at the second score line and then press the entire card flat to secure the glue and the panel. Okay, give that a little bit of time to dry. For me, because I had all that texture in the background, I ended up actually gluing that twice because I got a little too enthusiastic to move on. But in the end, it's going to fit just fine. This is the new piece. We're going to make a gift card holder. This piece is 9 inches by 4 inches, and I'm going to score at 3 inches and again at 6 inches. Okay, and again, all of these measurements are on there. So I am going to measure on the right hand side 2¼ inches from the bottom, and I'm going to make a little mark with my pencil. Then I'm just bringing in a straight edge to draw a line to help you see it. You don't need to draw the line. It's going from that score line to that mark that was at 2¼ inches, and that's what I'm going to trim off. This helps to create a little pocket to slide in our gift card. I'm also going to trim just a sliver off of that end, and it will help everything to fold up nicely. So I'm going to fold on that score line, and then I'm bringing in my bone folder just to try to get a really good crease in there and help it to lay flat. Ultimately, I am going to add a Velcro dot, but if you get it to lay flat enough, it's not really necessary. Fold it up. This is the same size as that front panel. Okay, so I want to create the pocket, and I'm going to add a thin line of glue on the bottom where we cut that diagonal, and then on the side just up to where the diagonal cut begins. Not a ton of glue. I don't want it oozing out, but there's plenty of room in here. You don't need to be super stingy. It'll work just fine. Then I have this front panel, and normally I would cut that at 2¾ by 3¾ but I'm going to use this snowflake trio, and I wanted more snowflakes. So I actually cut it at 2 7/8 by 3 7/8, and then I'm just going to arrange these on the background. These are also from Trinity stamps. These are in their brand new holiday release. Again, this is one of those things that they sent me for free that I just really love. And I turned them into stickers. I put some rip and stick double-sided adhesive sheets on the back. Whatever double-sided adhesive you have will work. Maybe you have snowflake dies in your stash. Give it a try. And I am just arranging them to kind of fill up that background. Okay. I hate the cold. I hate the cold so much, but I love making Christmassy, wintry themed cards. I just love the shapes and colors that come with that. So yeah, you'll have to let me know, do you like making those cards too? And if so, what are your favorite color combinations for Christmas, or your favorite color combinations for winter cards? Because I get into a very kind of narrow box of blues and purples and teals, and I should probably branch out a little bit. As I'm going along, I'm trimming off the excess from the side, and like the large one in the bottom right corner, I took that extra and I put it in the top left corner. And then I have a couple of these teeny tiny snowflakes that are going to come from a set we're using for card 2. I actually filmed this out of order. So it's from the Freezin season. But I just wanted a little something to fill that in. If I didn't have those, I might have used sequins or something like that. I'm going to go ahead and add this to the gift card holder. And it's going to fit with just a teeny tiny little margin on all 4 sides. But again, if you don't like 1/8 of inches, just 2 3/4 by 3 3/4, and that's on the original card sketch. Then I will add glue to the back, and this fits perfectly on that teal panel, the front box. Okay, I'm going to press it flat just to get a little more leverage, and I'm making sure it's not going below that score line at the bottom of the box. Here are my favorite Velcro dots. I get mine on Amazon, but you can probably also get them at your local craft store. They are 3/8 of an inch, so they're not very big. One side is clear. I typically like the clear side on like the part you're going to see first when you open it up, and then the other side is white. And I just press that closed, and that will keep it shut so I don't have like the door flapping open. I have grabbed a strip sentiment from the holiday set that came out August 1st. I will link to that video below. It says Joy and Magic this season. And then I have a scrap of pale pink cardstock that has a little bit of embossing on it. That's again from the card that's coming up. Yeah, I accidentally filmed card 2 first. I knew it was card 2. That's okay. This is how I trim really skinny things. I stuck it on a Post-it. I trimmed off the Post-it so it hit neatly on one of those 1/4 inch marks. And then I know that I have a 1/2 inch of cardstock. I'm just going to trim off 1/8 inch from one side of it. And that will give me my 3/8 inch strip. My sentiment is about a 1/4 inch wide, and so I will just add that to one end, creating an equal margin on 3 of the sides, and I'll bring my trimmer back in and just remove little slivers until it looks about even. And that will finish up my sentiment strip. I like this right on the front. It doesn't cover up too much of those snowflakes that I love. They're so delicate and they're so pretty. Yeah, I want to cut them out of all the glitter cardstock. And that finishes up our card. So here it is. I'm going to open it up. Those Velcro dots are sturdy. They're very sturdy. My gift card fits in there with lots of room. The whole thing folds up flat and fits in an A2 envelope. I love this thing. I love gift cards for the holiday season because to me, the gift card is a promise to spend time together. And so that you will see lots of gift card holders from me coming up. I hope that that is helpful for you. Look at this guy. Get out of town. Same card base, 10.5 by 4.25. I'm scoring again at 1.5, 2.5, 4, and 5. Okay, so the measurements are going to be the same for all 3 cards today. I will trim off just a little sliver from the end where I did all of that scoring, and then I'm going to fold everything up as mountain folds. And again, it will sort of roll into that box. I am going to add glue on that 1.5-inch flap. Okay, so far everything is the same. There's my glue, and I'm going to count down to the second score line and lay everything flat. And then I will fold at the score line that butts up against the glue flap and press it down. And there's the base of my card. For the background, I am going to bring in an A2 piece of cardstock because we're going to stamp it out instead of using pattern paper. This is the Pine Forest background from Trinity Stamps, and these trees are sort of soft and curvy and whimsical, and I think they go so cute with a little snowman mug. So I am just going to lay that flat on my desk so the stamp side is up, and I'm going to ink it up with some white pigment ink. And in my head, this white ink was going to stand out really well on this light pink. So I'm just going to press it down into that and then lay a piece of scrap paper over the top. And I'm just going to run my hands all over it to get a really crisp impression. And I pull it up and I'm like, you can barely see that. I love it, but I can't see it. And so I'm bringing in some embossing powder. If I'd used white embossing powder, I think it really would have stood out pretty well. But I grabbed this pearl embossing powder from Hero Arts that's gorgeous, but it's a lot more subtle. It's more translucent. So I'm going to heat set that, and it's going to take a minute, and then I'm going to look at it, and it's very pretty, but it's also disappearing into the background. So off camera, or rather edited out, I took some lighter ink and tried to just go over the whole background, and that wasn't working for me. So in the end, I cut this down using the layers from the card overview, and I'm adding a slightly darker pink just around the edges. Okay, and so you could use pattern paper for this. You could use a different background stamp that you have. Again, this is a method, and I'm just using these products because I just got them and I think they're awesome. So I am going to add the smaller piece to the short box, right? So that's 4 by 1 1/4. And then the top piece is 4 by 3 3/4. And it leaves this lovely little margin around all of the edges. So this is the very cute layered mug, which I've had for some time, that I purchased on my own. And then the Freezin season mug add-ons. So here's the mug, and you could just add the mug onto that front panel like we've done it before, but I cut this one down. I wanted it to hide behind the mug. So this one is 2 inches wide instead of 3, but I'm going to score in the same places, 1/4 inch and 1 1/4 inches. The goal here again is to show you how you might take a large die that you already own and make it fit on this box card. Now here's the thing, you don't necessarily need that front panel piece. This mug is tall enough that I really want the stability you get from it. But in the third card, I nearly skipped it. I added it mostly to make sure I was showing you another way to go about it. This is the mug that I am assembling backwards. It was an accident. I guess I wasn't paying enough attention. The mug handle is supposed to go on the right, but there's layering pieces. And so on the mug itself, you can't really tell. There's a little bit of a ridge on the handle that I will smooth out with my bone folder later. But it comes together really, really easily. The mug comes with the whipped cream and the little like coffee or cocoa or whatever goes in it, right? And then the mug itself. but there are these add-ons in the Freezin season. There's one that has these pieces for a little snowman that is melting in the mug. There is a penguin and there is a reindeer, and they're so stinking cute. I will be using all of them at some point. There's also like a cat and a dog add-on that I bought a while back. I have a video. I will link all the videos I can that are relevant, because I just think what they've done with the add-ons for this one is an awful lot of fun. So I have one arm kind of on the front, and then I have his top hat, and then I'm going to stick the other arm kind of like back behind. They have like a melted snowman shaker mix. At some point, I'm going to make this mug like this, and then I'll make a little circle shaker in the middle that has the melted snowman pieces. So there's like carrots and top hats and snowflake sprinkles. It's so, yeah, it's happening in my head. I've been thinking about it for days. So I'm using the Simply Sentimental Mary die set. That's the Mary, and then the coordinating stamp set. And this one's going to say Mary Everything. So I'm just kind of lining up the Mary where I think I want it so I can get the stamp lined up. And then I'm going to stamp and heat emboss this. And I'm using white pigment ink. Honestly, if I did this over, I would just use Versamark, because it would give me a finer impression. Sometimes with my white pigment ink, it sort of oozes out from the stamp. It's just a thicker, gloopier ink. Is that a thing? But it turns out okay. I think it's fine. And then I'll heat set that and we will be good to go. You can 100% use emergency sentiments here. A holiday circle sentiment would fit beautifully on this mug. I just love the phrase Mary Everything, and this Mary is such a pretty font, right? It's new. They haven't released these dies with this font before. The Simply Sentimental is like a series of word die sets that they have. And so I wanted to try that out, and I really, really like it. I added a second mug behind it just for sturdiness. And then you could just glue the mug onto the box. But again, it's really tall. In fact, this one's not going to fit in an A2 envelope because of his hat. So I am going to flip this over, and I'm going to fold on that second score line. And here's the thing. I'm going to trim this so that the whole front panel that I just drew on is going to be hidden behind the mug. Okay? But I also want to make sure that when I'm adding this, that the bottom of that front panel piece is going to be parallel to the bottom of the card. This was pretty easy on the mug, but we're going to use a circle on the next one, and that's really tricky. So I'm going to show you another way to do it. Okay, so it's hidden completely behind the mug, and I know that that's going to be parallel to the bottom. That's because when we go to add the flap to the back, if it's not parallel to the bottom of the card, this folding mechanism isn't going to work right. Okay, so I'm checking it now. I'm trying to make sure I know what I'm doing. And then I'm going to add glue just to the little flap. We haven't glued the mug part down yet. I found this to be easier. Then I will fold that flat against the mug, and I'm going to line up the mug, okay, so that it's straight. And I know that that back panel is parallel to the bottom, and I will press it flat. So I am attaching the short flap first, and you can see when I fold that whole thing up, his top hat is too tall. I don't really care. I hand deliver a lot of my cards, but something to be aware of as you are choosing large dies to put on your box card. Then I will just lift the mug and add some glue underneath it, and then press everything flat when I secure that to the box. And that's it. I'm kind of thinking about adding maybe some snowflakes to the top left, but I don't know. I'm really happy with him how he is. That mug is magic. Okay, so that finishes up card number 2. And then there was only going to be 2 cards, but I was playing around and I made this one, and I was like, oh my God, this might be my favorite. I need to know which one is your favorite. Same card base, 10.5 by 4.25, scored at 1.5, 2.5, 4, 5. And then I pulled out one of my background dies. It's the Circle Quilt cover die from Altenew, and I just cut it down using the card overview. So it's 4.25 by 4 inches. Then I am going to fold up my box just like before. I glue on the flap. I fold at the second score line. Then I fold the whole card over on the score line that butts up against the glue flap. Okay. When I was thinking about adding this third card, I already had an hour of footage. So some of these things I did put together ahead of time, but I'll kind of walk you through that. This is the pink layer. It's 4 1/4 by 1 1/2. And I just wanted to change the color of that front box. And then here's the Insider Sentiment coordinating die again that has all that great debossed detail in it. So it's not quite 4 by 1 1/4, but it's close. There is the scallop circle set that I use all the time when I use scallop circles as a mat for my 1 3/4 inch circle sentiments. So that's from Sunny Studio. And then I just was searching for a stitched circle die that fit inside there. I happen to use the Mama Elephant combo circles, but really any random shape that you have and you like will work for this. Okay. I just happen to be using a scallop circle. I love the idea of keeping it really simple and just using a large sentiment like that fancy yay from Altenew. It's a favorite, but I just bought these zinnias maybe 3 weeks ago and I hadn't put them on a card yet. And so I was just playing, right? I put the zinnias together and they were so much prettier than I even thought they were going to be. So I had to use them. Okay, so here's my front panel. Okay, it's 5 1/4 by 3 inches. I scored at 1/4 inch and 1 1/4 inches, and we're just going to cut this down. Okay, I want it to hide neatly behind my scallop circle. So for me, I cut it down to 2 1/2 inches wide, but just whatever looks right. This is about a method, not a measurement. You could put that circle on the front and just let it be there by itself. It's a fairly small circle, but I'm putting these zinnias on there. It's a fair bit of extra stuff, and I wanted to show you this method. Okay, so I'm using my fingers to kind of show me where I want my glue. I've got my placement for my circle, right? And I'm just going to glue it to the lower box, and I could leave it just like that. But I took this piece and I left myself about a 1 inch flap, and I'm kind of tucking it back there. Okay, and I want that 1 inch flap to rest essentially on the top of the box. That's how I know it's going to be parallel with the bottom, right? We talked about that in the last card. This won't fold upright if it's crooked at all. Okay, so I added my glue to the big flap, and as I'm laying it down in there, I'm just making sure that it's hitting right up on the edge, if you can see it in there. Okay, then I'll use my fingers to kind of wedge this open and add glue to my short flap. Press the whole thing flat. It's overlapping the box. That's okay. Pressing the box up, press the whole thing flat and glue it. All right. You just make it work for whatever you have. That 1 inch flap was perfect to add enough stability. You can see I'm sort of pressing on it. It's not going anywhere. Somehow in my head, my cards need to be able to withstand some kind of like crazy explosion. So that's a piece that I'm going to add for me. I spent about 10 years trying to arrange my florals on there. I was bound and determined to get both zinnias to fit on this card. So there was no way I was picking them back up once I figured out where I wanted them. And I will just tuck my glue bottle underneath the leaves, and then I'll pick up the flowers to lay them down. When I flip them over, you can see there's a keyhole design right there. See that? Every layer of the petals has that same hole in it. So all I had to do was line up the holes. These flowers come together in like 2-3 minutes. It's so quick. It's really, really magical. And so I can make this card again in about 15 to 20 minutes. I was shocked at how quickly this came together. So I'm going to press my whole card flat and make sure that that glue is hanging on really, really well. This one will fit in an A2 envelope. And then I am going to add a little sentiment strip. This one is from the encouragement set that came out right before this one. I'll link to the entire emergency kit playlist at the end so you can find all the different sentiments that are available. And then I'm just trimming that down on the end after I've matted it on some matching navy cardstock. The card's a little heavy to the bottom left, and so I'm adding the sentiment towards the top right to balance that out. And I Love it. And that's it. The card is done. I would love to know which of our 3 cards from today is your favorite. If you have additional sentiments that you are looking for coming up, please leave those in the comments below. The encouragement sentiments here, the coffee sentiments we just came out with, all of those were recommendations from you guys. I have more holiday coming up as well. If you are interested in the free printable, all I ask is that you subscribe to my channel. It is absolutely free and it really helps me out. So click the subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, and then if you click more or show more, you'll find it listed at the very bottom of the description box below. I'll see you next time.